Well, in this video, we are going to be explaining the geologic feature that we call volcanic islands. Okay, so this topic is related to how volcanoes are formed, most specifically underwater volcanoes. So make sure you watch first the video on volcanoes before watching this one. So basically, again, let's review that volcanoes are formed when magma or asthenospheric material come out from the Earth's interior and kind of punches through the lithosphere of the Earth, right? Now, sometimes these things happen underwater. Obviously, we have uh, volcanoes that are found on land volcanoes, but sometimes these magma material come out of the surface underneath the ocean. So obviously you form underwater volcanoes. And what happens is, if the magma source, whether it be a boundary or something else, a plate boundary, if the magma source is so active that it spews out a lot of materials, right? So what happens is this volcano becomes bigger and bigger and bigger because the materials pile up, the materials pile up, the materials pile up. Remember, when magma materials come out and gets greeted by the water, it forms the type of rock that we call basalt or basaltic rock, right? And then it piles up, it still forms basalt because it's underwater, right? And then when it comes to the point where it now pokes out of the water because so much material has been expelled. Now you have this rock layer, and this rock layer is not anymore formed by magma materials being cooled down by the water because it's now above the water. So now you form granitic rock, right? So, and again, if you were listening to our discussion on the types of rocks in the crust, this is why in oceanic floor we only find basaltic rock because it's under the water. It gets cooled down by the water, but when it pokes out of the water, it now becomes granitic rock. So that's why in continents we have a layer of basaltic rock and granitic rock, but in ocean floor we only have basaltic rock. But the point is, again, it starts as magma materials coming out. It might start out as volcanoes, underwater volcanoes, and then the underwater volcanoes become so active that it spews out more materials that now you pile up materials and then you form volcanic islands. Okay, so I found here a video from YouTube. This is titled "A Volcano Odyssey: Birth of an Island." So here, let's just play this. You can see the magma materials coming out from the interior, but again, it gets cooled down by the water because it's underwater. And again, because of that, it cools down immediately. It doesn't have time to expand, doesn't have time to interact with the oxygen content. So again, you form basaltic rock. Okay? But eventually, if the magma source is so strong, again, it piles up and piles up and piles up until at one point it now pokes out of the water, right? And again, when these materials poke out of the water, they still cool down and form a rock layer, but again, it's not the same as solidifying under the ocean. So you now form a different type of rock, which is granitic rock. And you can see it here. I'm just going to fast forward this because this video is too long, but if you're interested in the video, you can just search it from the internet. So now you have this. See, the magma material still keep coming, but now it's on top or above the water level. So now you start to form granitic rock, and that is the basis for any landmass, be it in continents or in islands. Okay, so that's how volcanic islands are created. You need a magma source, and that magma source can be as simple as because of the convergence of two plates, right? Similar to how volcanoes are formed. But it could also be other things. There could be other explanations like hotspots, which we will be discussing later on. But essentially, that's how volcanic islands are formed. Magma materials come out, piles up material, forming basaltic layer of rock until it pokes up to the water, forming granitic layer of rock. So now you now have basaltic rock and granitic rock forming the basis of what is continental crust because it now pokes out of the water, forming islands.